Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. Welcome back to my playthrough of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. So we're gonna continue from where we left off with. So we're gonna, I think we're gonna get to the trial, or at least close to it. The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. Let's continue from where we left off. So Natsume has been framed for this murder. We're going back to the scene of the crime here now. Or it's not even a murder, it's an attempted murder, I should say. Rear Road, okay. It looks as though the police are still here, carrying on with their investigation. Perfect. So let's find Inspector Gregson as quickly as possible. Yes, and let's see if he'll take a break from his chips to look at that silver tip Iris gave us for him. Okay, present, tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. Okay, so, let's, present. Inspector Gregson, do you have a moment? I'm sorry to say I don't. I'm a very busy man. Well, you're standing there constantly eating. Much too busy to talk to a pair of foreign gadabouts, that's for sure. We have these for you. A present from Miss Iris Wilson. What? For me? From her ladyship. Her ladyship? Give that here at once. Come on, hand it over. That's for me. Ah, don't wait for me to give it to you, will you? What was that coin exactly? It's a silver crown, obviously, but it's a lot more than that. It's, well, it's an appearance fee, that's what it is. An appearance fee? Oh, I see. You mean... That's right, for the adventures of Herlock Sholmes. Her ladyship always offers me a little financial reward for featuring me, every time. Yes, yes, of course, I know all about your exploits, Inspector. I read them avidly. Of course, her using my name without my say-so does make me the butt of a lot of unpleasant jokes, but still, I'm sorry, Inspector. That must be difficult for you. Never you mind that. So, what do you want to know then, eh? Sorry. Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem, it says. Well, obviously it's not a problem. Go on, fire away. What do you want to know? Well, if you wouldn't mind, Inspector, we'd very much like to know the address of Mr. Natsume's lodgings. Ah, the little knife-wielding, mustached Japanese fellow. He lives in a right old hovel. It's just over there. Look. Oh, it's that building. That is nearby indeed. If I remember rightly, the landlord is a Mr. John Garadeb. Right, well, if you see her again, you make sure you give her ladyship my regards, you hear? I mean it. You tell her that Gregson sends his very best wishes. Don't worry, Inspector, we will. Goodbye for now, then. And long live her ladyship. Well, at least he told us what we wanted to know before he left. Yes, so then, shall we go and see what we can find in Mr. Natsume's lodgings? Definitely. Mr. Natsume's lodgings. This is where he lives? May I help you? Yes. Would this be the residency of Mr. John Garadeb? Indeed it would, sir. And who may I say is calling? My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I am... Mr. Naruhodo is representing Mr. Soseki Natsume. I believe he takes lodgings here. We would very much like to ask him some questions about our client. One moment, please. I shall convey the message to Mr. Garadeb. Did you see that, Miss Susato? That was a real-life English maid. I know. As I understand it, anyone of standing in English society employs a number of household staff. But that was the first time I've ever seen one in the flesh. Oh, this day keeps getting better. It certainly feels like we've really arrived now, doesn't it? We need only to meet a butler, and the experience will be complete. Well, I'm not sure if I'd go that far, but I understand the sentiment. Thank you for waiting. Mr. Garadeb will see you now. This way. This is Mr. Garadeb? Good day to you. John Garadeb at your service. Pleased to meet you, sir. This is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. He's a defense lawyer. Do excuse me not getting up. Took a shot to the knee a few years back in the Battle of Maid, don't you know? Earned a medal for my pains, but had to withdraw from service, handed over the reins to the up-and-comings. So he's a retired soldier. It's a hell of a job getting up and down stairs now, I can tell you. Don't get out as much as you can imagine. Yes, it's quite a climb up here to the second floor, isn't it? I was panting at the top of the stairs. You really must take more exercise, Mr. Naruhodo. Do you think so? Well, Mr. Garadeb, no doubt you were very courageous to earn yourself a medal. Oh, it was nothing. The medal's just a falderol, really. Wouldn't like to offend the general, though, so I grudgingly displayed it on the wall. Why don't you fetch it down, Joan? Let those good people see it properly. Joan, fetch the... Dash it all, woman, be careful. Oh, dearie me. I do beg your pardon, sir. You jolly nearly took the skin off my hands. I shall be more careful, sir. So anyway, there you have it, living the quiet life now. Yes, I see. Now then, I hear you want to know about the chap lodging downstairs, is that right? Yes, we would be very grateful if you could answer some questions for us. Only two, please, naturally, especially if it helps to keep the peace here in Blightly. We forged an alliance with the Empire of Japan recently, as I'm sure you're aware, so this case is very much in the public eye, as it were. Oh, is it? Even had some famous detective poking around, you know, in this old house, would you believe? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Could have been, didn't catch the chap's name. Not really my cup of tea, all that detective business. Oh, but you have a copy of Rand's magazine here, so... no, look at how that caught him off guard. There's something he's not telling us, and now he's sweating. Anyway, the chap's investigating the foreigner's room as we speak, so he's in Soseki San's room. It's a bally nuisance is what it is. The whole neighborhood is twitching its curtains now. I don't like all this fuss. It's jolly unsettling. About Mr. Natsume. About Mr. Natsume then, Mr. Garadeb. Please do tell us. Ah yes, the Japanese chap. Only been lodging here for a week. Oh, just 1 week? So he moved in very recently then. I have two lodgers most of the time, one on the ground floor and one just below us. The first floor room became available a week ago, you see. Dash it all, Joan. Do be careful. Oh my goodness, I'm terribly sorry, sir. It's the second time she burnt him. If you want to know my opinion, I thought he was a shady sort from the moment I set eyes on him. Oh, why? He seemed to have a most nervous disposition, always shaking and looking over his shoulder. The man had shady written across his sweat-soaked brow, if you ask me. I said to myself, Joan, that man is trouble. Sooner or later, he's gonna do something untoward. And I'm rarely wrong about anything. We won't be calling this maid as a witness, that's for sure. Was there anything else that struck you as suspicious about the man at all? Yes, oh yes, indeed there was. And she's dying to tell us. Had you noticed anything else at all about your lodger, Mr. Natsume? On my word, yes, the man was shadier than an orchid. Could you elaborate? Well, take the man's room. Absolutely stuffed full of books it is. More than anyone could ever read. And he never so much as passes the time of day with another living soul. I haven't seen a single visitor call. He just trots off that old bookshop every single day and comes back at 5 to light the gas fire. And the funny little man is up long past the time everyone else is in the house has gone to bed too. Oh, I see. Well, that's something to be shady about. The guy stays up late at night and just reads. The gentleman on the ground floor goes to bed at around 9 each night. But I've never known that Japanese fellow to retire any earlier than 2 in the morning. Ah. Could you clarify something, I wonder? What, pray? How do you know so much about Mr. Natsume's routine? Oh. I'd understand that neither of the lodgers live on this floor of the house, is that correct? That's right. They're both below us, on the first floor and street level. There's something they're not telling us, then. How is it that you know so much about the lives of your lodgers? The precise times that they come back in the evening, for example. Even the times they go to bed. She's burning him again. Be more careful. Oh my goodness, sir. I'm terribly sorry, sir. Something doesn't add up here. It seems that the incident took place around 5 in the evening. Did you happen to look out the window at around that time? The window? Yes, we noticed that the window over there looks out over Briar Road. The incident took place in the pavement just on the far side of the street. Was there anyone suspicious loitering nearby? 5 o'clock is dinner time in the Garadep household, so I'm afraid I don't remember seeing anything. How about you, Joan? No, sir. It would have been dusk outside already at that hour, and with the fog as well, I should think it would have been quite impossible to see the other side of the road. Oh, I see. So then how do we have 2 witnesses? Well, there's not them, but... Did you notice anything else out of the ordinary, then? Such as? Anything at all, even if it seems unrelated. Well? Yes? Was there something, then? Well, it's nothing particularly significant, but at around that sort of time in here, there's... For the love of God, Joan, watch what you're doing. Oh dear me, what have I done? I'm awfully sorry, sir. Do be more careful. Of course, sir. If I may, Mr. Narrow Hollow. Oh, yes? I have an exceedingly good memory, and as far as I remember, nothing of any significance took place here at that hour. Nothing at all. Oh, really? Mr. Garadeb, the way you were talking before, it sounded rather like there might have been something. Oh, well, as I was saying, it was just a trifling matter, really. Nothing of... She's doing that on purpose at this point. I feel like she's doing that on purpose. Begging your pardon, sir. Nothing happened. Yes, quite. Nothing happened. We sat down to a quiet, uneventful meal. Joan? That's right, Mr. Garadeb. What is the matter with these two? It sounds like something happened here in this room on the evening of the incident, but what? I wish I knew. Could you tell us which floor Mr. Natsume's room is on? Why, certainly, just below us on the first floor. And Mr. Sholmes is investigating there even as we speak. Yes, told me Nat's his name, had asked him to look into the matter, so I gave him the key. Mr. Natsume has engaged Mr. Sholmes' services? That's a blatant lie. Would it be alright if we also had a look around? In Mr. Natsume's room, I mean? Don't see why not. It's just down 1 flight of stairs. Who knows if we'll find anything that could help us with the case, but we have to try. We need all the clues we can lay our hands on, shall we? Let's go, then. Yes, and while we're there, we can speak with Mr. Sholmes again. Perhaps he'll be able to tell us more. That uniform looks fairly ancient, doesn't it? I wonder if he fought in the Napoleonic Wars. It's clearly been well looked after, though. That old thing? Bah, not much better than rags, really. Oh? Wore that ceremonial garb at my retirement bash, you know. But I'm not one for dwelling on the past. Me would have gladly thrown out but you know how it is. Anyway, doesn't hurt to have the odd piece of memorabilia lying around, does it? Oh, I see. Perhaps we should leave the past in the past. What's this? Look at the shelf. That's what happened the other day. Oh my, a genuine London dresser, isn't it delightful? Although the shelves seem to be broken, and the crockery is, oh dear, it's in pieces. It really is. The word cracked wouldn't do that chinaware justice. Ah, I wonder. Perhaps the cannon was fired at it. No, the cannon would have done much more damage. That destruction right there, that's what has to do with that incident that happened the other day. Oh, look. What a wonderful collection of cakes lined up on that gleaming silver cake stand. Lined up. It looks more like someone has half demolished them to me. Afternoon tea is a time of indulgence, you know. It's quite the English way. It is Mr. Garredup's custom to take 2 cakes with his tea. That sounds delightful. Oh, wait a minute, though. There are at least 10 cakes on this cake stand. Well, naturally, and it would never do to waste the leftovers. So whatever Mr. Garredup doesn't eat, I say to myself, Joan, you shall have to tidy up. How magnanimous of you. What's this here? Look at that enormous screen. It must have been put there deliberately, surely. Yes, it certainly seems like someone's trying to hide something from view. What could be behind it, I wonder? I'm going to have a very quick look. Just a little peek. Ahem, ahem. Maybe let's not, Miss Susato. I think the maid is going to head us off with a cup of tea. Ahem, ahem. They're hiding something. And look at this medal. That looks like a Medal of Honor, and it's showcased on a very grand banner. Yes, it's displayed with some pride, I would say, although it bothers me that it's not straight. What, that old thing? Sorry? I should be glad to see the back of it, but the general would turn in his grave if I disposed of it. The wall's the best place for it, keeps the bally thing out of my way. So it's just been polished to shine by accident, I suppose. There appears to be an inscription on the medal itself. Look. Let me see. It says, for distinguished participation. Sounds like the kind of honors even I could be in line for. Well, one doesn't like to blow one's own trumpet, but I was given that for my time in the army. Can't measure an officer by the number of medals to his name, of course. Common knowledge in military circles. That portrait of Mr. Garredup is glaring at me, I swear. Have you noticed that all the little frames contain photographic prints of Mr. Garredup as well? Yes, and there seems to be a statue of lion on the mantelpiece as well. And everything seems to be crooked. Why is everything crooked? The uniform is crooked, the medals, the paintings. The chap who runs the place is a bally wizard. Wanted to sell him something and came out with that thing. In point of fact, now I think about it, I'd rather often find myself leaving the place with something I don't need. The lion ornament certainly does seem surplus to requirements. Susato-san doesn't pull her punches, on her throws for that matter. Are those mortar shells? They're enormous. Ah, I hadn't noticed. What are they doing here? Ah, those old things? Couple little rounds I accidentally fired into the barracks during the training, you know? Became a bit colorful regiment folklore, that incident. You mean you deliberately hunted out the spent shells? Well, I wouldn't say deliberately, exactly. They're only scrap iron after all, usually just thrown away, I believe. But you never know when things might come in useful, do you? Useful for what exactly? Yes, well... Joan here did manage to knock one of the bally things on my foot the other day while she was dusting. Oh no. Hadn't she shed a tear since 1869 before then, you know? Maybe reconsider throwing them away. That's a full-size cannon. What's it doing here? Oh my, it's real. I thought it might be a replica. That old thing? Bah, that's a little more than a toy. Sorry? The army was selling it off when I retired, so I decided to give it a new home. Never know when the enemy might attack next. Jolly useful to have a cannon about the house. Really, it isn't. Overkill? Be prepared, I always say. You never know what this twisted world is going to throw at you next, boy. Do you think there may be trouble brewing, Mr. Garrideb? Always is. Take Joan here. Never fails to have a clean apron in reserve. Dress them over the barrel, you see. Then drive. Very well in the cannon there, Joan tells me. It rather proves my point, I feel. It's a bit reduced to a drying rack. No wonder the huge cannon looks like it's hanging its head in shame. Some books? I notice you have a pile of books here, Mr. Garrideb. Do you enjoy reading? Ever experienced a London winter, boy? The nights are long. No better way to pass the time than in front of the fire with a jolly good book. Oh, there's a copy of Rand's magazine here, I see. No doubt Mr. Garrideb enjoys the adventures of Sherlock Holmes, too. The great detective has a great many followers, it would seem. Okay, it looks like it's everything that we searched in this room. This is Mr. Natsume's room? Damn. Look at all those books. What? Just look at this place. And smell it. It's so musty in here. I suppose it's the mountains of old books that are responsible for that. I don't think I've ever seen so many books in all my life. No, me neither. It's so dark in here, too. Is that the window over there? Well, it was the window, I think, yes. Once upon a time. But for some reason, it's been closed up with bricks and mortar. So this is where Mr. Natsume lives. By the way, I haven't spotted Mr. Sholmes anywhere, have you? No, that's true. But according to what Mr. Garrideb told us, the great detective should be around here somewhere investigating. What's with this pile? Look at all those books stacked up there. They almost reach the ceiling. It's kind of risky putting a candlelight there, too. That gets knocked over, that could start a massive fire. They're all works of English literature, and they all smell so mushy. With this volume of books to hand, you'd never be short of reading material, would you? No, what a dreamy idea. A bad dream, maybe. For me, at least. Mind you, I don't imagine the book that's at the bottom of the pile now will ever be read again. So reading is an experience that comes but once in a lifetime, just as a tea ceremony teaches us. I certainly didn't expect the conversation to turn down the path of tea ceremony philosophy. Is that a cat? It is. Okay. Oh my, what an adorable little cat. Perhaps he's looking after all the books while his master is away. I don't know about that. He disappeared into that pile of books just as quick as a flash. It was a tricolor Mike, wasn't it? Do they even have that sort of cat here in Great Britain? Perhaps Mr. Natsume brought the little creature with him from Japan. That's made me feel homesick now. Already? We've only been in the country for 2 days. What is this? That desk seems to be wedged into a crevice between the mountainous books on either side. I suppose Mr. Natsume would sit there and read while stroking his cat. But surrounded on all sides by those towering old tomes, surely he dreamt of books every night as well. Yes, he must have done... mustn't he? Oh, what's this? It's a receipt from a second-hand bookshop. Your books. Oh yes, Mr. Natsume's name is on it, look. And the date of purchase. 2 days ago at 4:45 p.m. That's the day of the incident. That's just a short while before he was embroiled in the terrible attack. He must have been on his way back from buying some old books. A receipt discovered in Mr. Natsume's room for some books that he had purchased from a second-hand bookshop before the incident occurred. Oh look, there's Mr. Sholmes. He throws a lot of garbage out too. Oh look, it's a beckoning cat from home. It's a bit big and bulky, isn't it? Surely Mr. Natsume didn't bring that maneki Neko all the way from Japan with him. I hardly think you're in a position to comment, Mr. Naruhodo. Are you forgetting the enormous Daruma doll that you brought in your luggage? Well, it can be dangerous traveling abroad. I wanted a lucky charm. Well, I imagine Mr. Natsume wanted the same, and this cat is sure to beckon good luck to him. It's not doing a very good job so far, is it? You mustn't say such things. I didn't say a word. Why are my eyes such a giveaway? Let's talk to Mr. Holmes now. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Aha, there he is. Where did he appear from? He seems to be engrossed in that pages of an old book. I hope he won't mind if we disturb him. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, you two, good day. Now let me see. Where was it that we met? Oh, Mr. Sholmes, we were together on the SS Buria. Yes, of course, the Buria. And let me see. What happened on that voyage? It was Kazuma Soji. He died tragically, but you were a great help to us. Well, I don't know about that. The last half he was. Yes, but of course, the case of Mr. Asoji. It was the one with the snake, wasn't it? Oh. Well, you seem to remember something of it, at least. What an honor to be remembered vaguely by the great Herlock Sholmes. This is Mr. Oh, no, my dear madam, hold your tongue. I pride myself on my superior powers of recollection. Your names are safely recorded in my brain attic. Miss Naruhodo and Mr. Susato. No. Try the other way around, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, I lose the first round. In truth, I had hoped to invite you both to my Baker Street suite the day we arrived in London, but some Scotland Yarders ambushed me at the railway station and whisked me away to a crime scene. It was an entirely trivial case, of course. I solved the matter in no more than 30 minutes. So they apprehended Soseki San in that short amount of time. I'm afraid the pursuance of a new case has dulled my recollection of my past involvements a little. A little. It is a mistake to think that one's brain attic has elastic walls and can distend to any extent. I do my best to forget useless facts, least they should elbow out the useful ones. Yes, those are my words of inimitable wisdom, you know, from an adventure entitled A Study in Scarlet. Please, there's no need to quote yourself. I don't always remember my pearls of wisdom, but fortunately, my associate pens them beautifully. He means Iris, I suppose. Mr. Sholmes, we have some extremely important questions to ask you about the trivial case you just mentioned. Goodness, what an earnest expression. My dear madam, I should be only too pleased, and this murky room is an apt place to discuss the murky case. Okay, let's talk to Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Natsume's arrest. We know this to be the lodgings of a Japanese foreign student by the name of Soseki Natsume. It seems that you assisted in his arrest, Mr. Sholmes, for the stabbing of a young woman outside here on Breer Road. Natsume, yes. I believe it was a name along those lines. But Mr. Natsume denies it. Was it really justifiable to arrest him on so little? I'm sorry, Miss Susato, but I have not the slightest idea what you mean. What? I can't believe he was looking Susato-san squarely in the eye while feigning ignorance. I assure you, I'm not merely feigning ignorance. It would appear as if the pair of you are under some misapprehension? What does that mean? What does he mean by that? How? I assure you I have no recollection of accusing your astute compatriot of the crime. But that doesn't make sense. The good detective of Scotland Yard made the following request of me, and I quote verbatim. We need you to ascertain the identity and whereabouts of a man seen fleeing the crime scene. Ah, a man seen fleeing. There was a number of books scattered on the pavement at the scene. From the book plates, I was quickly able to determine the bookshop from which they had been purchased. On speaking with the proprietor, I was immediately led to this address. Elementary, wouldn't you say? I believe there is a receipt around here somewhere from the establishment in question. So you don't think Mr. Natsume is the culprit then? That I could not tell you. But it was aggravating my faculties, hence why I returned here. So, oh my god, the police asked him to find the guy that ran away from the scene of the crime, and he brought them to Natsume's house, but he's just going on the basis that he just ran from the scene of the crime, not that he's the guy who did it. Oh my god. Mr. Sholmes with his technical aspects, this is just, the guy's sitting in jail right now awaiting a trial for attempted murder. However, this place is such a trove of fascinating books, I found myself quite lost in bibliophilia. Do not be deceived into believing that I am a man of leisure. No, no, no. Oh dear. Mr. Garrett, the landlord. Tell me. Have you encountered the landlord of these lodgings? Yes, Mr. Garrett, a retired military man. It was the first time I've ever met a soldier from the Great British Institution that is the services. And it was the first time I've ever met a maid from the Great British Institution that is service. What's so funny? I didn't think it was that funny. I do apologize. As you may well be aware, many households in London employ a maid. Yes, I read as much in my Great Britain primer. And so, conversely, whether or not the household employs a maid has come to betoken the social standing of those dwelling therein. Betoken their social standing, sorry? Put simply, my dear fellow, those who employ at least a single maid are considered middle class, those who do not are beneath that. In the upper echelons of society, of course, households employ enough staff to constitute a large family. Goodness, how extraordinary. He is actually, that is true to an extent. You know, today, maids aren't really that, as common as they were back in the day. Back in the day, a lot of households, middle class, would have maids. Middle class people do have maids today, but just not as common as back in the day. As you can appreciate, for those on the precarious boundary between the middle and lower classes, being able to afford just one maid is of the first importance. I had no idea. And it is for precisely that reason that I find great stimulation in the situation upstairs, specifically in the retired army veteran Mr. John Garrideb. Oh? Available as he is, that fellow is hiding something. Whether or not it imposes on the circumstances of this case, I am yet unable to ascertain. Yes, I felt that also, he was hiding something. I'm thoroughly lost in what he means to say. The dinghy room. This room is thoroughly suffocating for the soul, my dear fellow. I assure you, any man whose lot is to dwell in a place such as this will stab somebody sooner or later. Mr. Natsume has stabbed no one. Ah, but sooner or later, as I said. I don't believe that's the issue here. About this dark little room, Mr. Sholmes. Why is there no longer a window? Do you have any idea? No, window. Well, I mean, I can clearly see that there is a window of sorts. But it's been completely blocked with bricks. Ah, I see. The answer to that question is quite simple. Window tax. What? Window tax? What is that? Surely, not a tax on windows. Precisely that. Oh my goodness. Until relatively recently, a tax was levied on households in this country by the number of their windows. Really? I'm gonna have to research that in like in Great Britain, like window taxes in like over 100 years ago. But that sounds stupid. That's stupid. This is like, you know, taxing you more based on the amount of windows that you have in your house. That's just stupid. And then people do stuff like this. Until relatively recently, okay, so like he said, those of lesser means having inherited a sizable and costly family homes rapidly closed windows up, while the rich opened windows here, there, and everywhere, an effort to curry favor with those in power by furnishing them with large sums of tax money. How awful and unjust, forcing people to live in rooms devoid of light. Indeed, disease was rife as a result. So some 40 years ago, or thereabouts, the window tax was abolished. Oh, so this isn't recent, this is 40 years ago. So that means this house is pretty old then. But its legacy remains, as you can see, in squalid lodgings such as these, for example. I suppose Mr. Natsume's stipend for living here in London isn't very generous, perhaps. It would appear so. I've done a little digging, and discovered that these lodgings were offered at an extraordinarily low price. Because the room is so awful, I should think. Apparently, Mr. Natsume only moved in here about 1 week ago. Yes, that's correct. However, I don't believe the low rent is explained by the shabby nature of the accommodation. Oh? Still, this is of little relevance here, a matter not worthy of further attention. Are you sure? I'm curious now. The rent price might have something to do with this situation. Well, I believe I've told you all I can now. Thank you, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes, Mr. Naruhodo. Was it not your intention to become a practitioner of law? Ah, you remember that, did you? Will you perhaps be offering your services in this very matter, I wonder? To the occupant of this room, Mr. Natsume, was it? I'm not sure. Not sure? On what grounds? Well, I actually defended someone in court here only yesterday. Really? Well then, I congratulate you, sir, on an ambition realized, and so promptly, too. The thing is, it's really made me question things, and my right to believe in my clients, to trust in their innocence. Yes, trust. Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Natsume didn't do it, did he? My dear fellow, I haven't the first idea. Oh, but I thought that's why you were here. Didn't you come back to investigate? Ah, yes, that was indeed my initial intention, but there are simply too many fascinating books here. I couldn't possibly ignore them. Oh, I see. Nevertheless, there are two facts that I can state quite unequivocally. The man who fled the scene of the crime 2 days ago was the Japanese occupant of this room, and there are witnesses who swear to having seen the man commit the crime. This is all I can say, but didn't Mr. Upstairs, he said that that it was really foggy that night. Nobody could see anything. Ah, and one more thing. Oh, what is it, Mr. Sholmes? Tell us. I cannot say with any certainty whether or not it is of relevance to this case, but I am quite sure that the retired army man who owns this property is hiding something. Mr. Garadeb is. Mr. Sholmes said as much before, actually, didn't he? Anyway, at present, that is really all that plays in my mind in relation to this case. Mr. Naruhodo, as yet our investigations have uncovered nothing that could help establish Mr. Natsume's innocence. No, you're right. Perhaps it's time we probe a little deeper into Mr. Garadeb's secret. Just remember, I cannot be sure whether the landlord's secret will prove to be of relevance or not. But I wish you every success, of course, Mr. Naruhodo. A busy man indeed. He's gone back to his book in the corner of the room. Okay, we can talk to him still? Mr. Sholmes? Yes, so true. To be or not to be. That is indeed the question, Mr. Naruhodo. To be or not to be brushed off, that is the question. And the answer is all too clear. Let's leave Mr. Sholmes in peace, shall we? Let's talk to Mr. Garadeb again. 19th February. Mr. Garadeb's room. Ah, you pair again. Tell me, was a detective chap, I forget his name, hard at work down there? Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Ah, yes. Rings a vague bell. All that detective business isn't really my thing, I'm afraid. Well, Mr. Sholmes is in his element down there. Jolly good show. Another cup of tea, if you please, Joan. Now then, why don't you tell me what... For the... uptime time, will you watch what you're well doing? I shall be serving dinner shortly, sir. Yes, of course. Frightfully rude of me, but I'm afraid I shall have to ask you to take your leave if you'd be so kind. Oh yes, of course. We are deeply grateful for all your assistance. Not at all, not at all. Don't get much chance to talk with young foreigners like yourselves. It's been a pleasure. Best of luck and all that. Perhaps you could see yourselves out. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb is hiding something. And since no other avenues of investigation is open to us at the moment, perhaps we should do some digging. What is he doing? What's he doing over there? Mr. Sholmes? Aha, we meet again, my dear fellows. Good gracious, when did you sneak in here? Herlock Sholmes, sir, at your service. Whatever were you doing over by the window? I'm given to watching the evening sky as the sun sets, madame. Yet sadly cheerful as the room downstairs undoubtedly, as it lacks an aperture for such observation. So I took the liberty of borrowing a small corner of space by the window up here. Well, keeping an eye to one's window as dusk is the prudent thing to do in London, I'm gathering. And one other thing, Mr. Naruhodo. Oh, me? I thought perhaps you might be in need of a certain great detective's great mind. Wait, he's not talking about, is he? I didn't expect to be going through that again so soon. Do you mean Mr. Sholmes? There is a mighty secret in this room. My eyes see even the most trivial of trifles. He's gonna get this wrong again. I take it you're prepared, Mr. Naruhodo. I think so. There's just time enough for one of my greatly admired great deductions. Let's conclude the matter before dark. Mr. Garrideb. Though it would seem you are a military man of considerably distinguished service, your standing as a landlord is most certainly not what one might call first-rate. I'm afraid, sir, that is all too clear to me. There are two conclusions I've been able to draw by my careful observations of your living arrangements. I beg your pardon. The first is that even as we speak, you are concealing the presence of a ferocious beast in your care. Eh? And the second is that as a result of the beast's violent rampage, you have lost something very dear to you. Mr. Naruhodo, look. The old man's broken out in a cold sweat. Unbelievably, it seems that your Sholmes' conclusions are both spot on. How could you possibly... How could I possibly know, you mean to inquire? The answer couldn't be simpler, sir. For in the dense jungle of logic and reasoning, I am the king of beasts. And I know only too well that wild beasts are not easily tamed. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proudly present. Logic and reasoning spectacular. He's gonna get this wrong. The great deduction, the game is afoot. Nature of the beast. Deduction. It certainly shouldn't take a great detective to see that a fearsome beast has been on the rampage of late within these four walls. Thus, we are faced with the question, what form might this beast take? Ah, for a man of a military breeding, your eyes are uncommonly candid. Your furtive glance, Mr. Garrideb, leads us directly to the answer. The true nature of this beast that has run rampant here is revealed by that lion statue. How? Yes, for an army man, you appear unimposing at best. A fact that has fueled your admiration for the mighty lion, the king of beasts. What is this piffle, I ask you? In the end, your admiration became so great, in fact, that you had a living, breathing specimen shipped from India, which you tried to keep in this very house. What? Yet living with such a wild beast proved more difficult than you had imagined. The chilling traces of wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well... Yet as we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madame? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us handsome clues to the beast's current whereabouts. For protruding from it is a handbill advertising a circus show. Ah. Yes, you sought to dispose of this terrifying lion, Mr. Garadeb, at Batty's Circus, a traveling show currently sojourning in a nearby park. I have observed the tents. You sold the savage lion, sir, to the circus troupe. I most certainly did not. I believe I have made my point. The fearsome beast which ran amok in this room was an Indian lion, and a simple visit to the circus now revealed a lion prancing jubilantly through a ring of fire. A rampaging Asiatic lion? No. Aftermath. Now, Mr. Garadeb, it is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that bill posed, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Amid fits of tears, you let your beloved beast go. The strain of losing something so dear to you is clearly visible in your visage. Nonsense, man. I simply... But what we must now ask ourselves is the true cause of this pain. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find the answer. Yes, as a pile of bills has given rise to the pain you suffer. Every envelope contains another demand for payment. Ah, for cartloads of meat, potatoes, wheat, and tea. Indeed, feeding your beloved has had a devastating impact on the financial circumstances of your household. And so you had no choice but to let it go. Yes, well, Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet. There's a candle near there, which it looks like a fire might have started. Oh, dearie me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? It's a candle, ah. This time, madame, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eye is setting upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes? What? There is no creature more dangerous to this earth than a beast with an unsatisfied appetite. Was it, or was it not once said by a certain noblewoman, if they have no bread, let them eat cake? That was a quote that was supposedly said by, Queen Antoinette, who was the, she was the queen of France. Marie Antoinette, I think her name was. She was executed during the French Revolution, but that quote that she said, I don't believe that was a real quote. I believe that was just something that was made up, that she supposedly said. Food is at the heart of all tragedy, in fact. Whatever do you mean? Having tired of the taste of cake, the beast began to stalk its next prey. I'm sure I need not spell out the nature of this final act of destruction carried out by the beast. There is only one logical conclusion. Worked into a frenzy by hunger, the lion attacked and ate the carpet. The teeth marks in the carpet are a perfect match with those of a lion I once saw in India. I think you messed up here, Mr. Sholmes. Thus concludes Sherlock Holmes' great deduction of this beastly puzzle. Look at his face. He's like, what the hell? What does it matter if you Joan? You're pouring scalding hot tea all over me. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Garradeb. I'm afraid I didn't notice. My deductions can be startlingly sharp. It stands to reason that your cup runneth over. Indeed, my revelations can make people spill tears at times too. Oh. Mr. Sholmes, sorry to butt in again, but could I make an observation? Why, certainly, Mr. Naruhodo. What is it again? Well, your deduction just now. Do you really think a lion could have fit inside a room of this size? Indeed. It is the only explanation for the facts. No, I think there's another explanation. That terrifying truth all too often lies beyond the realms of common sense. But would it be an idea to consider what lies inside the realms of common sense as well? But if any uncaged lion had run amok in this very room, surely Mr. Garradeb and his maid would have been hurt, or worse. Ah, that's where you are stuck. No doubt the former military man held his own against the beast using that large cannon. Oh, come on. I thought you said they sold the lion to the circus. And what about the food? Meat and potatoes are one thing. But I don't believe I've ever heard of a lion that drinks tea. Ah, my dear Miss Susato, it occurs to me with some regularity that irrespective of race and breeding, whenever anyone lands on Great British soil, they are infused with highly appropriate taste for afternoon tea. Oh, what a glorious notion. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, it's your turn to shine again. I had a feeling that was coming. A slight massage, that's all Mr. Sholmes' deductions need. You can do it. Excellent. I've been waiting for my trusty partner deduction to step forward, Mr. Naruhodo. We don't even know yet whether or not this is going to help with Mr. Natsume's case. Still, uncovering the truth is always worthwhile, whatever the motivation. At least, that's what I want to believe. Let us start again. From the beginning. Of Sherlock Holmes, Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Okay, let's get to the bottom of this. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Okay, this is the best part now. A rampaging Asiatic lion. Okay, we already read all this. Fearsome beast. I wonder what it is he's hiding, but it's not a lion, it's something else. I really didn't see the lion thing coming. No, but if you observe Mr. Garradeb's reaction, it rather seems as though some beast did indeed run amok here in this room. Yes, something with a very fierce nature. But it couldn't have been a lion transported from India. So what was it then? We must follow Mr. Garradeb's gaze. That will lead us to the true answer. The true nature of the beast that would run rampant here. What is this? What's this photograph? It appears to be for Mr. Garradeb's wedding. He looks very happy, doesn't he? He does, but you can't make out his bride. No, how unfortunate. Something must have struck the glass directly over the woman's face. Wonder what happened. Probably best not to delve too deeply here. These are shells for the cannon, are they? What a strange place to keep them. I imagine they have some significance to Mr. Garrett from his time in the army. Of course. He mentioned a battle to us, didn't he? Do you remember? He said that he'd been shot in the knee. Perhaps it was one of those that hit him. No. If he got hit with that, he wouldn't have a knee left. If around that size hit his knee, there'd be nothing left of it. Or Mr. Garrett, for that matter. Mr. Jones is a Persian slipper. And this man has spent shells. Perhaps it's customary in Britain to display, well, rubbish on the mantelpiece. It's not the mortar shells. What really caused the damage in this room? The only thing else I can think of is the bride. I can't imagine a cannon wouldn't have gone off in this room. If a cannon like this went off, it would have gone through the wall. Like, this is... I can't imagine it's the cannon. It's not the lion statue.
Take that!
We got it. When it shatters like that, I think that's the right answer. The true nature of the beast that has run rampant here is revealed by the newlywed bride. Precisely, Mr. Naruhodo. No other explanation could possibly fit. Yes, this framed print pictures your wife, Mr. Garrett. And while we lament the fact that her face is obscured, we can still make out her mighty arms, and note the considerable horsepower they must contain. Indeed, surely any woman of such powerful constitution will be honored to be described as a beast. I'm honored might be stretching the point. Too late, the fact remains that the beast, which so clearly savaged this room, was your wife, Mr. Garrett. The chilling traces of wild rampage are still very much in evidence. Well... Yes, if we look around, the beast in question fails to present itself. Where could this angry creature have disappeared to? Madam? Me? I pray you do not consider me unchivalrous, but it is plain to me with one glance in your direction. It is? Your dress pocket gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. The poor, fragile, defenseless woman is besides herself. Well, I don't know about fragile. Oh dear. Anyway, Mr. Sholmes is quite right. There's no sign of Miss Garrett anywhere. But it seems there may be a clue as to her whereabouts. A clue that this maid is trying to hide. I wonder where Mr. Garrett's wife could be. What reveals Miss Garrett's current whereabouts? Look at his face. Looks like he got slapped or hit. Oh, right here. The maid is his wife?
Take that!
Your wedding ring gives us a handsome clue as to the beast's current whereabouts. Ah. Indeed it does. That flowery gland gleaming on your finger gives you away. For it is identical to the one shown in the hand of Miss Garrett's bride in the photographic print. In other words, you are no ordinary household maid. No. You are Mr. Garrett's lucky bride. You are Miss Garrett herself. Oh my. Word. Well, jolly fine detecting, sir. As you rightly surmise, this is the wife, yes, my Joan. Rather let herself go, you might say, but she was a bally quarterback. It would appear that you don't live in the most comfortable circumstances. After all, you are a retired army man, yet you are in the business of renting out rooms. Tisk. I would assume, therefore, you have insufficient means to employ a maid. Would that be correct? It's not right, I tell you. I was 2nd Lieutenant of the 3rd Regiment. A man has his pride, don't you know? By golly, it's a sorry thing when a chap can't even afford to have a single maid in his employ. Well, I don't think having a maid would be the most important thing. I think maybe, you know, having food on the table, paying the bills would be more important than that. Yes, here in London, one is rather judged. A household cannot be considered worthy society if it employs no staff at all. Now, that is something believable at the time. People could actually judge you for that, for not having a maid, which is something stupid. But, that's the time period. Though in my opinion, such concerns about appearances are a folly. You mean Mr. Garrideb has his wife work as his maid? Precisely. Am I right, Mr. Garrideb? Only in company, obviously. But listen here. This must remain a secret. Tip-top secret, please. The raging wife of Mr. Garrideb went from a lion to raging wife. Carpet gnawed on by the starving lion. We're gonna figure this out now. Now, Mr. Garrideb. It is plainly clear that you still have deep feelings for this formidable beast. Indeed, in that bliff pose, the distress this loss has caused you is veritably tangible. Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that supporting arm. Mr. Sholmes is quite something. He's still calling Mr. Garrideb's wife a beast. Yes, as a woman, that feels rather uncomfortable. But Mr. Garrideb is standing beside her husband as we speak. In other words, he hasn't lost his beloved at all, has he? Oh, how true. So perhaps that supporting arm that seems to be propping up his head has some other significance then. According to Mr. Sholmes, Mr. Garrideb's pain is tangible, though. What could that pose of his really signify? What reveals Mr. Garrideb's pain? That mark.
Take that!
Your head weighs heavy on your shoulders, the pain you feel being revealed by that slapped cheek. And, of course, the deliverance of that impressive mark on your cheek that refuses to fade. Was you, Madame Joan Garrideb? Well, yes. You have been desperate to hide the slap mark on your cheek, sir. How the blazes? How did you work that out, man? Nothing escapes the notice of one trained in the art of observation, my dear fellow. That's why you haven't looked directly at us, even once. To keep the other side from view. Well, Now, let us proceed to the next conundrum. Why were you subjected to such a violent slap? In other words, we must ask ourselves what caused Madame Garrideb to fly into a rage. And we need only follow the direction of your gaze to find that answer. Yes, it's the pile of bills that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Didn't Mr. Sholmes say the bills were all for the lion, father? Yes, but now we've established that the lion never existed. Which can only mean that the thing responsible for gobbling up all that food was Mr. Garrideb's wife. Mr. Naruhodo, she's a person, not a thing. Yes, well, she's also a person who gave her husband a mighty slap around the face. One so hard it left a perfect hand mark, in fact. Yes, why would a woman want to hit her husband with such force, I wonder? I'd love to know the answer to that question. What precipitated the slap? Someone must be reading this book at the moment. There's a bookmark here, look. Mr. Garrideb's clearly an avid reader. Is that a lipstick? Oh, wait a minute. I don't think this is a bookmark. Oh no, it isn't. It's a note written up in a woman's hand. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. And look next to the signature here. Lip marks made with lipstick. Oh, what a passionate and romantic gesture. Don't get any ideas, Susato-san. Oh dear, I'm sorry. So this bookmark is actually a love note then, This is what caused the slap.
Take that!
Yes, it is this love note that has given rise to the pain you suffer. Oh, James, I love you. Yours, Mary. Passionate indeed. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. My controller just died. One moment, guys. Sorry, worst time ever, too, for this to happen. Okay, controller is, back charging. Perhaps the sender of this note, a certain Miss Mary, is the fly in the ointment here. Look how mad she's getting. Oh, she slapped him again. But I don't know the Bali woman. You don't know her. That note wasn't written to me. It was just in the book. I don't know how it got there. It was just in there, you say. That's right. That's what I've been saying. A likely story. Now listen here, Joan, old thing. I explained it at the time. I bought the book at that second-hand place, and that note must have already been in there. So the previous owner of the book was using the note as a bookmark, you mean? That's right, that's what I've been... Well, there's a lot of tea in there. A likely story. That's actually... The person that it was written from, it might be the woman that was stabbed. My name, in case you've forgotten, is John. A likely story. Are you questioning my name now? And there we have it. Arouse the suspicion of the female heart, and you unleash a beast with most ferocious bite. Ugh. Now, in a final fit of rage, the ferocious beast carried out one last unimaginable attack. Unimaginable? The aftermath of which can be clearly seen by observing the carpet over there. A very expensive woolen carpet, if I'm not mistaken. Oh dearie me. What could have caused such a destructive outburst? Ah. This time, madam, I'm afraid it is you who has inadvertently revealed the truth to me. Your wandering eyes settle upon the answer very neatly indeed. Yes, to explain the dire state of the carpet, we need only look at the Tower of Cakes. No. But surely Miss Garrideb didn't eat the carpet. No, of course not. But there don't seem to be any doubt that the state of disarray in this room is a result of her wild temper. No, that's true. So, this is the last part of Mr. Shone's deduction that we need to fix. We only need to follow Miss Garrideb's gaze, and that will tell us the real answer. It's the candle. The carpet here has been ripped to shreds. Yes, and according to Mr. Shome's deduction, the tears match those made by an Indian lion's teeth exactly. Oh, look here. What is it? If you look closely at the edge, you can see scorch marks. Oh yes, you can. In that case, perhaps the carpet wasn't eaten in the normal sense at all. Let's rethink that in mind. It's the candlestick, this.
Take that!
Yes, to explain the state of the carpet, we need only look at the candlestick. Most illuminating, my dear fellow, and of course, the only possible way of this logical labyrinth. Yes, the remnants of a ferocious attack in which the carpet was devoured are clearly visible. Indeed they are. The scorch marks at the edge clearly give the truth away. Scorch marks. It would appear that this room was the scene of a little martial altercation. Miss Garadev's mighty arm muscles left an impression not only on her husband's face, but on the entire room. The force of her strike caused the candle to fall from the holder. And at seconds, the carpet was alight and the whole corner of the room in flames. Yes, For the most ferocious beast in the world is neither a violent lion nor a vengeful woman, but fire. And in this room, that ferocious beast bore its claws and ran amok. Eloquently put, my dear fellow. So you see, there is but one conclusion here. After the sparks of martial discord flew, this room was the scene of a fire. Yeah, it was a fire, like the candle. Oh look, he's standing up. Mr. Sholmes, sir. I salute you. What the? Carpet scorched by a small fire. Solved. Deduction complete. Elementary. It's these dashed long winter nights, you know. Nothing to do but read in front of the fire. Luckily, there's a jolly good second-hand bookshop just around the corner. Buy all my old novels there. And in the pages of one particular novel, you discovered some rather illicit material, for which your wife admonished you harshly, it seems. Don't know about admonished. Demolished might be rather close to the mark. And beast is most certainly an apt... Here we go again. And the carpet was destroyed by a fire when a candle fell on the floor. Afraid to say it was. Happened in the blink of an eye, you know. The whole place filled with smoke. Couldn't see a bally thing. I was caught between the old stick's rage and the raging flames. You paint a torrid picture, sir. One that would have been most entertaining. That's sympathy for you. Didn't take long for the fire to spread, of course. The bally furniture started going up as well. We had to hide the mess behind that screen for the time being. Over here, Mr. Garadev. Well, you have nothing more to hide now, if you allow me. That bookcase is important. Had all my favorite old novels in that case. But as soon as the, fire got a hold of them, that was it. Whoosh, up in smoke. Gosh. Then the, wife started hurling things at me. What a terrible sight it must have been. There was I back up against the window under heavy enemy fire, incendiary books coming 10 to the dozen. Worst of it, I lost my favorite, book called The Lion's Pride. The Lion's Pride. Ah yes, your notorious love of big cats coming through again. I assure you, the title didn't influence my choice in the slightest. So the poor man really did lose something dear to him as a result of the ferocious beast's rampage. Mr. Sholmes' deductions turned out to be correct once again. It can only be ascribed as a great British wonder. Well, we corrected the deductions. I tell you, it was total carnage, flames everywhere, and the old stick in full fettle. Out of interest, what time of day was that? Not sure I can remember. It was 2 days ago now. Let's see, around 5 o'clock, I think. The same time as the attempted murder. So at exactly the same time as a terrifying incident was unfolding outside your window on the street below. Even more terrifying on the inside, I can assure you. The whole of Blighty could have been flattened outside my window at the moment, and I wouldn't have noticed a dashed thing. Oh, really? Mr. Sholmes. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo, what can I do for you? Well, I think we've got to the bottom of Mr. Garadev's situation now, but what does it have to do with Mr. Natsume's circumstances? I can't help you there, I'm afraid. What? My dear fellow, if you recall, I did say as much from the outset. I warned you that although I knew the retired army man to be hiding something, I could not be sure whether his secret would prove to be of relevance or not. I just knew you were gonna say that. Now, Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't lose heart. Bear in mind that all things fall into one of only two categories, those relevant to the case and those not. That makes no sense to me. Well, no matter. It is of far greater importance that you make up your mind now. Sorry? Visiting hours to prison will soon be over. Oh no, is it that time already? If we're to accept Mr. Natsume's case, we have official paperwork to attend to. So that's it. No more time to think. Perhaps you'd like to betake yourselves to bidding us farewell now. I must prepare supper for Mr. Garadeb. Oh yes, I'm so sorry. I think that bookmark has something to do with the case. Thank you both very much for your time. Soseki-san will be waiting for us, and I'm going to have to give him an answer. Okay, so we found out what happened here. Let's go to the prison and tell Natsume that we're going to take his case. Oh, 19 February, Briar Road? It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. We must hurry back to the prison. Yes, I know. Let's hail a car. Oh. What's the matter? It looks like something's going on over there in front of the Garadeb's house. Huh? Who is this? I know thee not, old man, failed to thy prayers. Who are you calling an old man, you rum-looking nimini pimini? There are more things in the heaven and earth, Horatio, than are dreamt of in your philosophy. Who's this Horatio fella, eh? What are you on about? Excuse me. Hey, what the? Who are you now? I'm sorry, it just looked as though there might be some problem here. And my associate here, Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, is a lawyer, you see. Hey, a lawyer. What? If I can be of any assistance, I'd be happy to help. I'm from Japan, but I've studied English law. Tisk. Fine, I'll be on me way for today, but you mark my words. This ain't over yet. What? Get thee to a nunnery? Do I look like a bloomin' nun to you? Okay. This is weird. I do hope you're not injured. Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so gentle, thank you. What was that all about? There are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, that are dreamt of in your philosophy. I'm not Horatio either. Forgive the inquiry, sir, but are you a lodger here, in the Garadeb residence? Oh, fair Eastern maiden, thou art so right. Yes, I do dwell in this humble abode. Mr. Garadeb mentioned that he had another lodger, didn't he? Well, this guy's really weird. This must be the man. Yeah. Do you happen to know the other lodger who lives on the first floor? Ah, yes, a gentleman named Natsume. A more worthy a polemist in the battle of words near, could there be. Sorry, battle, did you say? Who is the stronger, Hamlet or Macbeth? Mr. Natsume and I sparred long into the night, I see. I don't fully understand, but it seems Mr. Natsume and this gentleman are acquaintances at least. So fair maiden, so good gentleman. I can tarry here no longer. Fare thee well. Okay, that was weird. I didn't really understand him, but I think he returned to his room, yeah. It seems he's unaware of what happened to Mr. Natsume, so he can't really help us. With Soseki San and that man's lodgers, the Garadeb house is certainly full of eccentrics. Anyway, I'll go and find a carriage. Yes, I'm sure Mr. Natsume is eagerly awaiting a return. Let's hope we can get to the prison before visiting hours are over. Local prison, cell 9. Soseki, Oh, it's you. You're here, you came. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. I can't believe you came back. I'm so touched. We are so sorry to have kept you waiting, Mr. Natsume. Oh no, think nothing of it. Relax. If I were a cat, I would purr with pleasure at the company of such fine compatriots. Noble, nurturing, never failing Nipponese. Oh, now, let's not get carried away. Oh, I quite agree. There's nothing more reassuring than the familiarity of one's native land. On the other hand, it is through friendship transcending international borders that one truly appreciates the fact. Such is my belief, at least. It's you. The miserable, rotten spy. Here, Herlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing here? I have no intention of doing anything per se. Save observing, of course. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? Well, having encountered some curious reading material in that gloomful room, and having unmasked the secret identity of that eccentric pair, I decided I should drop in on my way home to see how our devised friend is faring. Gloomful room? At least your accommodation here offers a window, my dear fellow. In that sense, it is the superior option. Anyway, I must commend you on your taste in books. My day has been a delight, and cost me not a penny. Ah, you. How dare you, Herlock Sholmes. I've had it. I'm through. I'm at the end of my rope. I should never have come to Great Britain. It was a terrible mistake. Haunted by spirits in those accursed lodgings, no doubt my luck will be cursed in tomorrow's trial as well. My whole life is bedamned. Spirits in the lodging? What is he talking about? What are you thinking, Mr. Naruhodo? He mentioned that once before, didn't he? That his lodgings were cursed, I mean. And there is much truth in Mr. Mustache's words. What? Curse is a wholly appropriate description, I would say. For the man's lodgings, and indeed for tomorrow's trial. What's that supposed to mean? Let's present him with this. I wonder if he has anything to say about this. We found this receipt in your room, Mr. Natsume. That's right. I went out to buy some new old books. Isn't that a contradiction in terms? And it was on your way back to your room that you saw the woman being stabbed. She's dead, I thought to myself. She's dead. My mind went completely blank. Before I knew it, I was back in my room, trembling like a leaf. The bookworm hoping to worm his way out of a bad situation. Mr. Naruhodo, please do be careful not to think such disparaging thoughts. How could you possibly know? Cursed trial. Mr. Natsume, what did you mean by what you said just now? About the trial tomorrow being cursed? Oh no, why are you looking so grave? You're making me nervous. I was just getting carried away, that's all. I didn't mean anything by it. Oh, I see. That's really agitated him. You don't mean the trial really is cursed somehow. Are you referring to the prosecutor, the Reaper of the Bailey? The Reaper? Oh no, what do you mean? Please tell me. Summarize it succinctly in 16 salient words. No defendant has ever survived a trial in which the Reaper stands for the prosecution. Ever. Oh my goodness, can it really be true? That was 16 words exactly. Yesterday, Mr. Naruhodo successfully defended someone against a Reaper. But then, after the trial was over, the defendant passed away in unusual circumstances. Mr. McGill did. What? This is getting kind of creepy. I am impressed, Miss Sato. You have an eye for detail. Actually, the Lord Chief Justice told us. Mr. Sholmes. Surely it can't be that having failed to have the accused convicted, Lord Van Zieks killed the man himself. Oh no, he couldn't have, surely. You have some wonderful notions. Sorry? The man isn't a mass murderer. He's a court prosecutor, my dear fellow. Oh, yes. Why, of course he is. Of course he is. Then, why are you trying to scare me? It could be said, however, that the real truth about the man is even more terrifying than your hypothesis. What do you mean by that? What on earth do you mean by that? Well, he just said what I said. The Reaper. Van Zieks is a quite exceptional man. However, in London courts of law, exceptional does not equal weight to winning every case without exception. Ah, that's good. Soseki San looks like he's gonna cry tears of joy. As you are no doubt aware, in British criminal trial, there's both a judge and a jury. The judge officiates based on the letter of the law, whilst the jury offers public opinion and common sense. It's an excellent system, whereby the defendant's guilt is considered from several points of view. However, public opinion in particular is somewhat easily manipulated. Right. We learned that with the jury. Criminals and corrupt lawyers, for that matter, can use it to their advantage. By any means at their disposal, convincing, contriving evidence, calling imposters as witnesses, and so on. By such underhand means, those who want to be able to sway, to be able to sway the jury, which means that even in the light of the irrefutable evidence, the prosecution can fail. But it means the wrong verdict can be passed. And sadly, is from time to time, my dear madam, it's simply the reality of the situation. And that's all right. However, those indicted by Lord Van Zieks cannot escape justice. Their fate is sealed. Oh my. Though the education may see them leave the courtroom with their freedom, within months, they are all disappear. It is most striking. So everyone that's been involved in Lord Van Zieks, either they go to prison and are executed there, or they die in mysterious circumstances. That's creepy. Disappear. But how? By all manner of misfortune, sir. Perhaps they are trampled under a passing carriage. Perhaps they fall into the Thames and drown. Perhaps they are suddenly overcome by a raging fever. Perhaps attacked by a highwayman. Oh, no, 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 no. All examples of the reality of events here in London, I'm afraid, Mr. Naruhodo. Ha, I knew it. I'm a dead dodo done for doomed. Cursed Lodgings. I want to know what this is about. When you said a cursed lodgings before, you were referring to your room at Mr. Garadib's house, I assume. Do you mean to say that you believe the place is cursed? It's been a year now since I came to Great Britain, but I've only been in London a week before I started to notice strange feelings in myself. That didn't take long then. Everywhere I looked, there were foreign faces staring at me, laughing behind my back. I was sure people were talking about me. I started to become nervous about going outside. They were always staring at me, all the time, from dawn till dusk. So I shut myself away in my room, but even that didn't help. The fear wouldn't go away. You must have been very lonely, having been away from your homeland for such a long time. I've had to move a number of times, most recently to that room on Briar Road a week ago now. Yes. Why did you choose there? It seems a little inconvenient. The rent is cheap. I have so little money. It appealed to me straight away. Of course, I asked why it was so affordable. The landlord just simpered and said, "The room is cursed." Oops. He quickly tried to cover his mistake, but it was too late, so I told him, "If you have something to say, then say it, but if not, don't mention it in the first place." Yes, well, said. But it was true. It was all true. You mean, the room really is cursed then? Ever since I moved into that windowless hellhole, my sleep has been plagued with nightmares. I wake feeling as though I'm being choked to death. And in my waking hours, people are stabbed in front of me as I walk down the street. There has to be an explanation for this. I'm branded a killer, thrown in prison. Nobody wants to know me. I'm surrounded by scary, sinister spirits. If only there was someone, just one person on my side. Can no one find it in his or her heart to believe in me? Really, no one at all. To believe. Yes, to believe. Mr. Sholmes. Me, Mr. Naruhodo Prey, what could I do for you? It's about the case on the SS Buria, if you recall. The Buria. Ah, that case. The one with the snake. Well, yes. At that time, I was the suspect, but you believed in me and listened to my side of the story. And you helped us to investigate. I did I? Interesting. What I want to know is why. Why did you believe me? I see, yes. You mean... because you were a grimly dressed, shady Eastern fellow found with the victim in a locked room. Well, if you like, yes. I'm a little surprised that the answer requires explanation, my dear fellow. It's quite simple, really. You said I didn't do it. But I could have been lying. Surely you must have had your doubts. You must have suspected me a little. I think perhaps you have misunderstood. I neither recall believing in you, nor in that which you were telling me. What? You see, the only things I believe in are those I choose to believe in. What do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? I make up my mind about what is to be believed and what is not. If I should like to believe in something, I do. The circumstances can hang as far as I am concerned. But I could have betrayed your trust. In that case, I should have made an elementary error of judgment, nothing more. Betrayal of trust is an overused excuse in my opinion, meaning whether or not one should trust another isn't the final analysis down to oneself. It is a matter of whether or not one can trust oneself. Yes, he's right. He's right, locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Whether or not I can believe myself. The defense lawyer is only as good as his faith in his client. And that comes down to how much faith he has in himself. You were so right, Kazuma. Well, my dear fellows, it is time we were leaving, I believe. Already? Visiting hours are over. The guard will be here shortly to escort us out. There is a restaurant near here that serves excellent trout. Would you care to join me? Oh dear, there is never enough time, is there? Mr. Natsume, if you'd like, in the trial tomorrow, I'd be happy to represent you. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Look at his eyes, he's so happy. As I said, I only experienced the British courtroom for the first time yesterday, and although the man I was representing was found not guilty, I lost sight of something crucial. Something crucial? What to believe in the defendant, justice, or the truth. How to believe even. But I think I finally worked it out. I decided I must believe in myself above all else, to trust my instincts. Yes, Mr. Naruhodo. And my instincts are telling me that you, Mr. Natsume, are innocent of this crime. And it's imperative that we prove that in court. Locum student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire, I will fight for your innocence until the bitter end, with every weapon available to me, so I hope you'll permit me to represent you tomorrow. As I said when we first met, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who will listen to me in my native tongue. Of course, Mr. Natsume. It will be fair to say, Mr. Naruhodo, that your mind was, in many ways, made up from the outset. You merely needed the events of today to fully realize it. Yes, I think you're right about that. It's been a roundabout journey, but I got there in the end. Miss Susato, yes. Would you be willing to stand by my side tomorrow and help me in court? Absolutely. As I said this morning, you may consider me your personal judicial assistant. This is gonna get interesting now. The shocking events of yesterday's trial still weigh heavily on my mind, but it's time to stop looking backwards. Kazuma believed in me, Mr. Sholmes believes in me now too. So it's time. Time that I learned to believe in myself. Soseki San has no one. He's all alone, so it's my job to help him to fight his corner. Tomorrow, in the courtroom, with all the strength I can muster. That's it, that's awesome. That's just awesome right there. To be continued. So we'll leave this on the next part, guys. We're going to be going to court versing the Reaper of the Bailey again tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed this. This is getting interesting. We're going to get to the bottom of this on what exactly happened on that foggy night. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care, everyone.